Call the EDA meeting to order. Motion to approve the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Can I get approval of the October 28th, 2024 board meeting minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve those minutes.
Second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Financial reports, EDA program funds report. And then on that same one, we have the outstanding loans report.
Nothing big to point out. I will note there's about $99,000 set aside into Fund 44. That those funds aren't ours until we loan them out. So if you know a business who needs a low interest loan, direct them our way so that we can get those funds into our revolving loan account.
Any questions on anything? Old business, the Watonwan County Housing Stakeholder Summit update.
We hosted this on December 12th. This was a partnership between Brianna and myself from the St. James EDA. We both had housing developments that were starting in the early 2000s that had some remaining lots. So we talked over the last couple of months about how to get into the developers, get some more feedback about selling them, what can make them more attractive. Andy was there as well as Chris. The developers we had present as well as the realtors and lenders really focused on the interest rates right now, cost of materials. They also mentioned sometimes in rural areas, the lack of contractors in the area can mean prices are higher than maybe in a metro area where you have more contractors to choose from. So basically, we didn't find any new ideas, but we also know it's kind of a tight market right now. High risk for a developer to go forward, especially when those costs have to go into the home itself, and the price of an affordable home here is not what it costs to build one. Say a lot of them are in the $400,000, $500,000 range, and we can afford more $200,000, $300,000 range. So we're planning to reach out to the contractors and past developers who have built homes in the past several years there, and just continue those conversations until we're ready. Anything I missed, Andy or Chris?
I think there's quite a bit of interest in performing a housing study. And if that's going to be a joint venture or a county venture or, however it pans out to be most helpful, I guess. I think that makes some sense.
And we already restricted $7,000 for the 2025 budget for the city to do a housing study, whether joint or not. St. James has done the same. We plan to present to the county commissioners in early 2025 to request a county housing study. That'll be done. The cost for that is about $35,000. So at St. James at $10,000, Adelia at $10,000. There's a grant I could go after for another $5,000. The county would need potentially $10,000 to chip in for the cost. We have some quotes that we need to look at. But, so that presentation will go for the commissioners in early 2025.
But again, this housing study is not just for Adelia and St. James, it's for the whole county, correct?
Yep, and the reason that St. James have chipped in so much for that is because there could be chapters specifically about each city. Basically, St. James doesn't want to lose the data about their community and neither do we. We're going to chip in for it.
They said the last one was done.
Here in 2005, St. James does one on a 10-year basis. I don't know that the county has ever done one as a whole.
No, I thought it was really interesting to attend and hear from all of the investors and the developers and why they don't want to come here. And yes, the housing study was a big thing that they would like to see in regards to, I mean, obviously they're always looking at the rate of return. If they invest in here, when are they going to get their money back? And then with not knowing where the economy actually sits, but I do think you and Brandon did a wonderful job. Thank you.
So with this housing bank study, it just basically tells the builders what they should be building, basically.
What's in demand?
Okay.
And, I mean,
And if it's even a little more in depth than that, it should be, type of housing, rental versus purchase, multifamily compared to single use. And then they'll have like an actual income component where they're gonna have basically what the people in this county can afford. I think that's the biggest imbalance right now is nobody can build anything that's actually affordable for the income class of this county. Even if land's free, even if, you know, the infrastructure's already paid for, it's just because of the fact that the return on investment and margins are so razor thin that they can't, nobody could seem to want to go out on a limb.
Well, and to piggyback on that, the biggest challenge we have is the fact that we're landlocked. So we have to find a place to put these houses at. Is that part of that study?
Well, I think we're talking about just filling Riverview Heights.
Riverview Heights and the empty lots that we currently have in town.
Okay.
Approximately how
Always
many are left out there?
9.
9 lots left.
Yeah, there's 51 lot housing development over the course of the years that I've been there. 10 houses were built the first 10 years, 10 the next, and then 5 in the last, about 10 or 11, I think, in those numbers. So we've done a lot more. Chris has done a lot more in the last couple of years to push them.
And we have, what, 11 lots that are open?
9.
I mean, in town,
So,
not out there.
offhand, because when they're owned by private, it's hard to know what their plans are.
Because you can look at some lots and tell them that are a double lot, would they be willing to sell off that other lot? I don't know. So you can drive around town and count all the empty lots, but there could be more.
But that study will go into look at that. We can also look and see if there is a demand for a new subdivision in the future. And then Chris and I are probably hesitant to go after something like that till Riverview Heights is full. But that's what we could look at something like that.
Well, and to Chris's point, we also have some empty lots here in town.
Yes, absolutely.
Dennis already started some things that have not been completed.
That's correct. But then if we are looking at the household median, should we be looking at, the trailer or mobile village? You know, there's other things that we should be maximizing out to within town.
Yeah, so I think we've had some conversations, or me and Celia have anyway, about, you know, what can we do to help, you know, rejuvenate, rehab, and fill the mobile village and actually make it so it's marketable. And I don't know for sure if there's any solid answers yet, but I think it's definitely the fastest and maybe the easiest and most cost-effective way to put housing units on the market, you know, without a major investment, I guess.
How many lots in the mobile village are open right now?
I think
That's
short
14.
14?
And I understand that there's covenants out in the subdivision, so you can't build a manufactured home like that out there on stuff like that. But I can't remember, is there ordinances in town that would restrict somebody buying a lot and putting like a stampered home on it or something like that?
Okay, so that goes back, you gotta be really careful in regards to saying manufactured homes. A stimpered home is technically a stick-built home.
Oh, okay.
A manufactured home is one that has literally a title with it, like a car.
Yeah, yep,
You know, a stimpered home does not come with a title.
okay.
And the reason I can say that is I live in a stimpered home, and it's stick-built, on a basement, rafters, wood rafters. And previous to that, I lived in a trailer house, which you could hook up to a truck and drive off. You know, so I know the difference there.
Well, and I know that you can put some of those on an actual foundation.
Yes, but in here, you can, and correct me if I'm wrong or whatever, it all has to do with how your trusses are on the bottom. So a manufactured home from Schultz or somewhere like that, if it is basement ready, is classified different than an actual mobile home is.
Okay.
So,
But does our ordinance prevent that type of house being outside of the mobile village?
yeah, kinda.
Anything else on that?
The only other thing that I'd add is I think that whether we have a housing study done or not, I think the need is pretty apparent that it's there. But to have somebody actually come in and want to make a major investment, they're probably going to want a little more proof than our word for it, that there's just, a need for that. That doesn't mean that it's not there, it just means that they want somebody else putting it on paper that it's there.
So to piggyback on that, here's my one concern. I think Amy's got a point in that we need objective data for these people to come in here. But we're paying money for yet another study. How many times are we going to admire this project? So if we need to do that, to his point, I'm good.
It really depends on how you want to solve the problem, I guess. If you're looking for an actual builder of some size to come in, make an investment in Vidalia and build multiple homes in Vidalia, they're probably going to need more than just our word for it that they're going to sell. And I think that's part of the problem with what kind of happened already. It's not the fact that the economy changed.
So this housing study will help provide the objective data to that point?
Well, hopefully it will say exactly what the market in Vidalia would support,
Okay.
I
And
guess.
also give us a game plan for different grant programs coming forward, whether I should focus on rehabilitation when I look at grant programs, or whether it should be on building
I mean,
code.
I think there's a lot of good going on right now between, what's going on with rehab portion of main, in town. And, like you said, the last 5 years, there's been multiple homes built out there. And I think we can kind of hopefully continue to market it for sure. But I think the biggest thing the other point that kind of came up was this might not be the best market to try to really push in. But I think everybody's like, to capture the market when it is ready, you have to have all your ducks in a row to be able to push it out there and get somebody interested.
I appreciate that. And I think the grant piece is critical.
Thank you. New business, small cities development program for grant income use plan.
So on November 19th, Natasha something, who's the manager for the Small Cities Development Program, reached out about our reuse plan card program income. You'll remember back in 2015, Medelia got a grant from this program to do home rehab as well as commercial rehab. And I spent some time over the last year and a half figuring out what was our program income that we still report to the state versus our local income that I don't have to report on anymore. And so we have about 56,000 remaining in program income, mostly that for our home rehab portion. And so our policies direct reuse as a revolving loans fund, governed by the same policies as the original fund. That program required a rehabilitation advisor to identify the project scope. And Chris has a little bit more knowledge of the program, having been here in place while it was there. The rehabilitation advisor walked into somebody's home and said, this is what you have to do, determine the scope of work, brought in contractors who maybe weren't local, and they didn't do the best job always. And so we really want to make sure we avoid that going forward with using the funds. As well as a lot of my colleagues are staying away from using this program due to some of the restrictions from the state. So basically, going forward, we need to figure out what we're going to do with those funds, the 56,000. Are we going to just administer the program using our city staff resources? Are we going to find an outside agency to administer the program or return those funds to the state? We could also apply for a future round of small cities development funding, get more rehab funds in place to use.
Was there a cap on the amount that could be allocated per
Yep.
recipient?
From the state, you can only put 25,000 of small cities development program funding. We had additional funds, I believe, that came in, or we would use different grant programs that are available for those homeowners. These are low income, low to moderate.
But is there a cap as far as if an applicant comes in and wants to do a rehab project? Is there a maximum amount we can, just from a administrative standpoint, I'm just wondering for 56,000, is it gonna be like Two or three, two. So administering it ourselves might not be the worst idea. It's just finding the two applicants that are maybe the most qualified,
Well,
or the two projects that are maybe the most qualified.
two projects that are the most qualified, but the contractor that actually comes in and does it, I think there was a list that was given last time, and they
Oh.
weren't contractors from town.
Okay.
And,
See, that's a problem for me.
and at that
It's a huge
time,
problem for me.
we didn't have any major follow-up on it, so I know some of the projects that were done maybe weren't done to code, and so these individuals had to replace some of the stuff when they sold the house just to get it to code. So I just don't want to see whatever we do, not go that way again.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we prevent it?
Well,
Because if what I heard, if I heard you correctly, we just turn the money back to the state.
we're not doing that.
It's one of the options, but I would say with Chris, my recommendation would be to apply actually for a second round of funding. So it's not just 2 homes, so that if I'm learning how to run this program, I can then do it for several homes.
So here are my two concerns. Maybe a little slow on the uptake right now, but here are my two concerns. My first is, I don't want to invite bureaucracy into this. So the reporting requirements, don't want to go there if we don't have to. The second thing is, I am not at all happy with the fact that they're using outside contractors.
But I think that's what,
That's the list.
that was the list. They had to use those contractors.
Is
Yeah, that's why I don't want-
is that not a deal breaker?
I don't want to go back to that,
No,
because I
that's,
don't feel
it's
that's
the state
fair.
administrators.
Okay, so if we own it, then we can fix that.
We're correct, that's the way
Yeah.
I understand it.
But we would have to administrate it in-house here.
Yes.
Okay.
And with that, we would have to sit down and discuss what we're, right, we're basically writing the whole program.
I'd rewrite the program. I don't know. I'm not familiar with running the program. I don't know about those contractors, what it is that made them offer these outside contractors versus local. Chris and I talked, we'd rather use local contractors. They know our community. We know they're going to do a good job.
And we've got a lot of local talent,
Absolutely.
so we don't need outside.
Matt, do you remember that? Or did you not have,
There was some list that was generated by, I vaguely remember, there was some, I don't know how anybody got on there, but like, nobody from here was ever on the list.
No.
There was some kind of, you had to be certified, kind of even like, MBAC programs, you gotta be registered with them as a contractor of sorts. It's something to do with that, but that's what I recall. I just,
Probably didn't pay for some sort of license to get on there, some sort, if that's what you're saying.
and to be honest with you, was no benefit to the community after seeing what has happened.
Yeah.
So if we have to administer the program, we're gonna need some help from people, building inspector, people, contractors to understand how to implement this and make sure that it's done the correct way.
Can you and your staff take on this workload?
I don't know how much work it is. I'm not familiar with it.
That's the second concern I have.
Celia and I will discuss more detail,
Okay,
and we will report back next month.
okay.
Is that fine, Celia? Yes, because I think I want to go dig more into the contractor piece, see if we can talk to the local contractors and say, which ones are you guys certified, can we use you, can we get you certified if we go after funding in 2026? Because the cycle, we would do an initial application in November of next year. So we have some time to
Okay.
have this conversation.
Yep.
Thank you.
Next one is Greater Minnesota Small Cities Housing Aid Grant Program.
So this is just for your knowledge, this is when I say, a housing study would be really nice to have in place, because I could determine which of these 9-ish, priorities would be really, prevalent for Madelia. Right now, I've had some conversations with local developers who talked to me about building, market rate residential properties, as well as affordable, rental properties in town. I don't know exactly when the grant cycle will open, but it's going to be Q1 of 2025 and due in Q2, and the awards will be in the range of $100,000 to $300,000. It looks to be very similar to the statewide affordable housing unit that came out to the counties, and those are a lot less cumbersome than maybe a small cities development program. So I'm excited about this funding. I want really to go after it. But if there's any other of these needs that you see as being incredibly prevalent, conversations you guys have had, individuals that you know that we should connect with, I'm happy to have those conversations. Like I said, I'm talking to some developers, but if there's other opportunities, I'm happy to look at them.
And 2025 work plan.
This is just an overview of what I'm looking at for the next year, so we can find out my capacity. This is what I'm looking at. It was a little different than the one I had last year because I think I have the projects a little more fleshed out than I did last year. If there's any concerns or question about what's on there, or things you'd like to see happen, I'm happy to help them. I can go through them, but I have a lot of projects.
Everyone good on that?
Yeah.
Staff report?
Can I get an approval of the work plan?
Oh, we need an approval.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2025 work plan.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Thanks. And then besides that, just in November, December, since we skipped our November meeting, looking into rental vacancy rates, prepare for that grant program, DNR outdoor recreation. We had a meeting with the Splash Pad committee, members of them, and then some city staff to talk about that grant and get prepared. Center on Reconstruction Project, we had the workshop on November 20th. A small number of people attended. It was not great weather that night, but we have it recorded. We've created a web page as well to get the word out to the community. And then, as I already mentioned, we connected with Kelly about when to present that housing study proposal, as well as to get that rehabilitation program for the county approved. We're hopefully looking at that early quarter as well. And then, like I said, the small cities development program funds.
Anybody have anything to add?
I just have one question. So what are the hours that you're putting in now?
No.
Well, that's my concern.
No. But the problem is I've already gone back to Stephen and asked if we can add 2 more, and we can't ask you to add 2 more days. We can only have her 3. We'd have to have somebody else in here. And I don't know if that's a good thing to do if we start mixing.
Nope, it's not.
So we'll do the best we can with 3.
Okay.
She is here Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
It's switching to Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays in January.
Okay.
I just got switched to new community, so I will now be in Martin County. I'm also talking to legislators for the road capacity program for CETA, so if you guys have anything you want me to say to legislators on behalf of Material, let me know, because I'll be at the Capitol, I think, for the Jobs Committee in January.
Appreciate it.
Public comment? Any motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.